How's it going, everybody? Alright, so this is just to continue on from the last video I made. Was the pretty much just the steps I take to, you know, diagnose fuel systems. Yes, this is Lumi Duty 2017, but it's still the same for 11 to 16 trucks. Don't worry. Got my little helper with me and my audience. This is weird, but yep, I'm gonna get in and show y'all two different softwares, Forescan and my T7 icon scanner. And I'll just show you what to look for and what have you. There's no issues wrong with this truck, so I'm going to, after I go through my steps, I'm gonna replicate some issues and see how it reacts as far as like throwing codes, specific codes and stuff. I'm not going to get deep into like the injector issues. I'll show you the contribution codes and all that, but I'm not going to demonstrate the injector return issues on this video. So all right, so hope I can show all this to you. Hope it be legible for you. Doing the best I can with it. All right, so I got it connected to the truck. Got a little dongle there. Got your ready status. First thing I pull up is DTCs, you know, see what's in there. The only DTC I have is B124D, which is tire pressure sensor. Yeah, my tire light's on because one of the sensors is bad. I just hadn't changed it yet, but PCM, TCM, all that stuff, I don't have any codes. All right, so what you're gonna do, you're gonna first thing I like to check is, like I said, is the supply side. Hang on, sorry, I forgot where there we go. So hit the little graph symbol below the DTC triangle, dashboard, and double click on any of the squares. You're gonna search for fuel, and it's gonna bring up everything with related to fuel. So I'm going to bring up first the fuel pump lift command, fuel pump itself. Let's see, fuel pressure be low side, don't need any voltage. Let's see, the fuel pressure or fuel rail pressure A, and commanded fuel rail pressure A. Let's do B as well, and then fuel rail pressure desired. That's the voltage. Fuel pressure B is FRPV has voltage, so that's just what the sensor voltage is. I don't really need to look at that at the moment. Fuel pressure control valve, that's on the CP. Engine rate, total fuel injection quantity, low pressure fuel system switch, and that's it for now. So bam, brings up all that, got all your stuff on there, and then you're going to hit the little play button and it brings up all your data, however you want to call it. So I'm gonna cycle the key off and back on. A commanded fuel pump on, it's running, and it's currently at 58 psi. That's, and I can audibly hear it too, so I don't know. I don't know if y'all will be able to hear that, but I can hear it running. And your fuel pressure switch, not low. So those are the first two things I look at. If you have, like I said, if you have low on your fuel pressure switch, that means your low pressure fuel pressure is not operating correctly. Like I said, the previous video I made, the low pressure switch clicks at 53 psi. So if it's low, it's below that threshold. If it's not low, if it's not low, then you have over that threshold power or pressure. All right, and then fuel rail pressure is this one here. It's obviously sitting right now at 261 because the engine's not running. So next thing I go up to is you got your low or your supply side hankered out. I get a crank. It's gonna fire up because, like I said, this truck doesn't have any issues with it. And there you have it. This was a cold start, so if you heard that little bit of a shudder, I haven't started it in a couple days. But your fuel rail pressure is there, absolute, and then your fuel rail pressure, and then your fuel rail pressure commanded. Make sure these two match. Alright, so FRPB doesn't give me anything. Right off, I can't remember. I'd have to look it up and see what FRPB is. But everything desired and actual is matching. And running, we have 59 psi on the low pressure side, and it's still commanded not low. So I'm gonna hold it at about 1500 RPM so y'all can see where you're supposed to be at. So we're at about 1500 right there, and you can see it's 16,000 psi. And back down to idle. Bam. Look there, it stables out. So that's what you need to see. This is normal operating conditions. Trying to think. If you have low rail pressure, I'm gonna go ahead and stop that. So if you have low rail pressure while cranking, your command's going to be like 5,000 or 10,000 or something like that, and then your actual rail pressure is not. It's going to be 0 or 200. So y'all seen it idle. This thing's been sitting for a couple days. Well, at not running, it's static at 200 whatever it was psi. So that there's obviously nothing. So if you're cranking and you have that and it's not jumping up to 300 or 400, then you literally have no fuel coming out of your high pressure pump. So that's basically it as far as what to look for on a computer. I'm going to go under the hood and unplug the fuel volume solenoid on the CP and compare to what we have had then versus, you know, the solenoid operating correctly. So I used a pick because you can't get your hands under there to get the to get that tab back on the right here. That red tab has to be slid back, and then you have to push down on the connector and actually pull it off. So right now I got it disconnected. And so as far as diagnostic, so I ask you to see if you can get that unplugged and crank your engine over. And if it builds pressure, then that solenoid itself is, you just got some issues there. So that should give you wide open. It'll probably throw me a code. So, but here we go. So with that sensor unplugged, your pressure's still the same, because your control valve on the fuel rail on the back is regulating your pressure for you. So I'm gonna stop this, go to DTCs. I'm going to, let's see, read DTC, and bam, I got a P00001 fuel volume control, or fuel volume regulator A circuit open. So it set that code for that sensor. So there you go. Ow, ow, crawling all over this thing. So now I'm going to unplug the sensor on the back of the fuel rail. This also is a pressure control relief. And then going to retest and show you what code pops up for it. All right, so I got the relief valve on the rail unplugged, and no pressure. Okay, so obviously it's not building fuel pressure. Let's see what DTC that's set. Let's go ahead and stop the stream. DTC, recheck. Oh wait, not reset, I hit the wrong one. It's set P0090, fuel pressure regulator A circuit, control circuit open. Meaning it obviously has no communication with that solenoid. So that valve, if I remember operations correctly, that valve de-energized is open. So all the fuel is bypassing through it. So let's do this. So now you have a no start condition with no rail pressure. All right, I'm not going to do it too much because I do not want to lose my cranking ability, because it will time out on cranking if you crank it way too much. Fuel air pressure, or low pressure. I know we still got not low, but wasn't it like 58 or 59 when we last done that? So it's maybe a PSI or so short. And also, while it's running, the pressure is bouncing. Oh crap. The pressure is bouncing. See, now it's stable. Let me do that again. Fuel, low pressure fuel pump on. See it? That trickle. So that tells me you have fuel bypassing. Fuel is bypassing. So I have, not every vehicle does that, but I have found that as a key to tell me, all right, we're losing pressure somewhere, obviously. So I'm going to come up here, and then I'm going to remove the you can't, well, it's kind of hard to see it now, but that connector, that port, that's your fuel rail. There's your control valve. I take that line off, and before I had before I just pretty much squeeze close this this little braided hose. That way I don't get pushback from the return system. So right now I'll have to, I will take that off, turn the key on, and then monitor the fuel flow coming out of the rail. And if there is fuel coming out of there, you replace the sensor on the rear rail. So once you get that replaced, dang, I gotta get it plugged back up now. Once you get, okay, and you get the new one on, it's easier to take this daggum rail off and replace that sensor, or you can just buy a rail that already, you know, they come with the fuel rail pressure sensor up here and your solenoid on the back. You just buy a whole new fuel rail. You guys might, so I know some may dislike this, but you can purchase that fuel rail Bosch direct from Rock Auto for, you know, I would say significantly, not significantly, but a little less than what you can at a dealership. And it's the same dang part that the dealership has, so what have you on that. I've had good experience with Rock Auto, from my 7.3s to that Explorer to this truck. So take that with a grain of salt. All right, so you get that replaced, you get back into the truck, crank it over. If the thing does not fire, so if it does not fire, we are going to look at the 8 sticks that are in each cylinder, which is your fuel injectors. So like I said, I'm not going to demonstrate on here, but you need to check your return. So I've seen a video, and yeah, it's fairly accurate. You remove your glow plugs, crank the engine over. If there's whatever fuel spray comes out of whatever cylinder, you have a bad injector. But you could have a good nozzle but a bad return. So your fuel could be leaking back on your return versus your nozzle. So you won't see that unless you do a return injector return test. And how I done that is remove, so these lines are, I mean, it's a rubber line coated in this protective sheath. You can disconnect all these injectors and just softly, you know, guys on budgets, you can softly clamp this line shut, turn the key on, verify you don't have any drippage out of the return ports, and turn the key on, watch the injectors. If any fuel is trickling out of them with a low pressure, then sure enough that injector's bad. Because if it's leaking on, you know, 58 psi, it's going to leak on 6,000 psi. So or there's some cases too where fuel injectors won't leak under high pressure, but they'll leak under low pressure. So check it both ways. And the way you remove these clips is kind of get you, be careful with them because you'll break them. Get you a clip underneath this top tab, just get in there and then pull it straight up like that, and then the return pipe, just kind of get on both ends of it and pop it up just like that. So they do sell plug kits for these returns, so you don't have to do the clamp method, but they are $21 a piece. I thought about just buying 8 core injectors and like cutting off the these ports off of those injectors, and you know, and plugging them up, or even just you know, yeah, just plug them with, put a screw in it or a bolt in it or something, and or just weld it shut, whichever. And then to pop it back on, you just push it down and then pop that lock tab back down. That's it. So that's what I would do on that part. And if you got a leaking injector, replace those injectors, or you can do all 8 if you're, you know, if you have it, if you're able to. And at that point, you go back into the truck, you clear your codes, which I'm going to do right now. Let's go back to DTC. Yes, reset DTCs. Sign key off and on. Hit OK. Look there. No codes. No codes. I did get an error out of the body control module, but that's fine. Let's go back to our demand. Landon, get back to our demand live data. Hit the play button, and as y'all can see, let's see, system's on and running. Oh, it cut off. So we are sitting a little bit higher, not by much, but we're sitting a little bit higher on that. And also the fuel rail pressure is not jumping around. It was, I'm trying to remember now if it was like 216 or something like that. Now it's like 320 or so. So we have a steady rail pressure. Yeah, so there we go. See, with the pump off, it dropped back 261. With the pump running went up 320. So that tells me the system is tight, essentially. So I'll go ahead and just crank her up. Look at that, simple as that. And that's honestly it. Like I said, it's hard to replicate the issues that are out there. It really is. Yeah, sometimes it's hard. It really is hard sometimes to replicate the issues that are out there. Like I said, you start at your supply. Make sure you have a good supply pressure. Like I said, you're 11 to 16 guys. You're probably not going to have a PSI. I think it's 11 to 15 actually. You're not going to have an actual PSI. You're going to have a switch. Either low or not low. One of the two, one or the other. You want not low, and you want positive 58 or between 53 and 75. That's it. That's all there is to it. And then you got a good supply, so you check your DTCs if you got any. 2291 is probably going to be the most common, which is your low rail pressure while cranking. If you have any issues prior to that, like just low fuel pressure in general, you need to look at the DTC that's behind that. It's going to designate, you've seen the codes that designates the solenoid on the CP and the solenoid on the back of the fuel rail. P0090 is for the fuel rail solenoid, and then the P0001 is for the CP solenoid. But those are circuit problems. Circuit problems is wiring. As y'all seen, you unplug them, it has no communication with it, so it's a circuit fault. Mechanical faults, it's going to throw different codes. So unplugging one leaves them open, and then so if you have a circuit high or a real pressure high, then that means the control valve on the back of the head or the back of the fuel rail is sticking shut, or the volume control valve on the CP is sticking open. But again, they work hand in hand with each other, as you've seen. the main control is the fuel rail valve, the fuel rail solenoid. The solenoid on the CP is legitimately how much fuel is actually getting to the pumping units. Like I said, you have 58 psi to the inlet, 58 psi to the inlet, and that's what pushes into the pumping rods, and it builds your thousands of psi's. That's it. And then if you can isolate, like I said, the big test for that fuel rail solenoid is take the return line off, clamp it somehow, shape, form, or another, turn the key on, make sure, and see if any fuel is coming out of that gold stem. If there's any fuel coming out of it, that solenoid is bad. It's not supposed to have fuel coming out of it, as y'all seen. So unplugged, it's de-energized, it's open, it's defaulted open, and it's just letting fuel literally bypass through it. Can't have that. Take the solenoid out, replace it, or just replace the whole rail with the solenoid. If you replace just the solenoid itself, you have to torque it down to 67 psi, or 67 psi, wow, 67 foot-pounds, there we go. And then pop her back on there and give it a whirl. If it still doesn't work, move to your injector returns. Like I said, you can do the glow plug removal and crank over, see if any fuel spray comes out of whatever cylinder, and whatever cylinder it comes out of, that injector is leaking, replace that injector and retest again. Clear your DTCs, crank it, and see what happens. The CPs, I've seen them become airlocked. I'm gonna make another video on looking at actually the pulsation of that pump and what you need to look for if you're trying to bleed that pump, so to say. You will have to take off the block, the intake block on top of the pump to get to that. So I'll make another video on that. And then that's it for this. Check your returns on the injectors. Like I said, clamp off that return line, either crank it up or crank it over. If you're gonna have to have some measurable tubes or measurable instruments to make sure you have one injector not flowing more in the return side while cranking than the others. 15 milliliters is all you need in a 13 milliliters on a 15-second run interval. I think it's, oh my gosh, I probably got them backwards. But either way, if one injector's pushing out like a whole freaking vial of fuel, that injector's bad. It's bad. Get it out of there, put another one in there. If you're replacing injectors, like I said, this is 4scan. I'm using the most current 2.3.70 release. You're going to go into hit the wrench, read injector. Oh my gosh, I forgot where to go. Holy crap. Bear with me. It's been a while. There we go. Yeah, let me cancel that out so I can start all that again. Alright, so service procedures on the wrench. Change fuel injector correction factors. Highlight that, hit the little play button down there. It'll come up with a window. That's a service correction for the IQAs. Now, here is your IQAs for every daggum injector in this truck. So, I don't know if it's going to focus on that, but those are the IQAs for everything on this truck. So I'll just throw a picture in there, and that way you can see the code I'm talking about. And then you come here to whatever corresponding cylinder. You pretty much just highlight the first block and just start typing the code. It'll fill in each block all the way to the end. And then what you do, you hit save all data to ECU. It gave me the code saying, it gave me the box saying injector data is the same. Are you sure? Yes. I didn't change anything, but it should pop up, service procedure completed successfully, injectors coated successfully. You got that, then pretty much back out, and that's it. Roll on from there. Let's see. Then key on engine running, self-demand. Where is my contribution test? I'll have to find that. Yeah, I'll have to find that because I haven't ran a contribution test with this software. I'm not going to. I've already probably made this long enough. I'm not going to make another on this, the Icon. If you have this auto agent easy link, you can go on your phone and look at your numbers as well. It's not plugged up, so I can't. Hang on. You know what? Let me just. So I got my auto agent pulled up. Again, you can go in here, verify you don't have any codes. I got a 124, which is that for the tire pressure code. Let's see, I'm not going to clear it. I ain't going to worry about it. Go to dashboard. Well, hang on. Go back. Go to vehicle. Verify it's connected. Dashboard and tiles. So if you don't have whatever in this tile, yeah, you can move these units around. So low pressure fuel pressure desired, D. Low pressure fuel pump pressure, A, which is actual and desired. That's what those are. And then injection pressure and injection pressure A, which is actual and desired. So I'm gonna fire it up, and all your desires and actuals should match each other. The only thing that's not going to match is the low pressure pump pressure. So yeah, it's demanding 95, but you're never going to see that with these unless you have some high performance, you know, system. But it's within parameters to say not low, which is not going to throw a code. That's it. I'm not going to unplug my low pressure pump to show you what it does. I'm not going to do that because I'm actually going to drive this truck to Georgia, so I really don't want to kill this thing. If you don't have whatever inside of the tile here, you can just select and hold. Well, wait a minute. You can just select it. Like, just tap on it. It'll bring up a swipe menu on the bottom. You can just scroll to whatever you want. So I'm going to look for injection. Let's see. Let's find the injection. I don't know when I see it. Injection quantity. There we go. I don't want to set a code or a there's your injection quantity desired. I'm not a millimeter or cubic millimeters. And that's it on that. You just hold or tap on it and then just scroll down whatever you want. And like I said, that'll show you everything. And that is it, guys. So hopefully that helps. Just to recap, make sure you have your supply and just work up the line from there. If you don't have one or the other, correct it right then, retest. Or you can just replace the entire system and hope for the best. Sometimes that helps, sometimes it doesn't. I've seen people put DPK kits on and they have a no start after that. And actually I haven't heard back from that yet, so I don't know. I really don't know what happened on that. The only thing I can think of is just severe airlock in the pumping units on the CP itself. Like I said, my next video, I'm probably going to upload at the same time as this one. I'm going to take apart the upper intake and show y'all how to pretty much what to look for on the bleeding process of that CP4. So if you ever get a no start condition after installing the DPK, because that, you know, that requires removing your intake block and removing that fuel volume control valve, and then obviously installing your return. But that's it. I'm gonna close this one up and see y'all on the next go round. I actually do have a project coming up that has a verified injector problem, so that'll be an interesting diagnostic there. I'm not gonna do a lot of cranking on it because I was already told it possibly could be hydrolocked. So, but we'll see. We will see. No, I'm not leaving my tools out in the rain and weather. I had to take them out of my service truck because I sold it, and I have another truck I'm going to pick up, and all those tools are going in it. So, alrighty. See ya. Thank you. Hope I helped out some folks.